The first step in dating a Vietnamese woman is actually meeting them, beginning to have a conversation. I know so many foreigners come here and they think it's the Philippines or Thailand where you can just meet them outside. Hey, how are you? And start up a conversation. That does not fly here. And they come here and they're like, well, why don't they talk to me? What's wrong? That is not Vietnamese culture at all. They do not date a lot. They very normally are virgins when they get married. There are some, maybe they've had one boyfriend or maybe possibly two. But good girls in Vietnam culture do not date unless there's a possibility of it becoming a marriage. So they're very serious. Now, under 25, it's changing. The culture in Vietnam is changing from K-pop and social media. But 25 and older, and even a lot of them from the countryside especially, they're not the type that are going to be out there dating a bunch of guys or even this guy and go to that guy. It's not something socially accepted here. Let me tell you acceptable ways Vietnamese girls will accept you going on a date. I've had 5 Vietnamese girlfriends. This is how I met them. Through my job. I was a teacher. I dated one girl maybe a year after she stopped studying with me. I met one at an English club. English club is full of Vietnamese girls who love to practice their English, and a lot of them are interested in dating foreigners, a majority of them. I've asked them. One from a dating app. Dating apps are a lot of work, and you have to spend a lot of time messaging Vietnamese girls. They want to see that you care enough that you spend time every day to message them if you guys have some kind of a connection. I met 2 outside, but that also is because I can speak basic Vietnamese. So it's easy for me because I ended up having 2 girlfriends that only spoke Vietnamese, no English. But it's a great way to practice your Vietnamese if you're interested in learning Vietnamese too. Okay, so what you absolutely need to avoid is meeting girls at bars. I understand the first time I came here, the first night I was in Vietnam, my friend took me to a bar. And the girls were just stunning, especially 2 of them that were there serving us. And it's intoxicating, and you feel like, wow, this is unbelievable. They are so attractive and just have amazing figures, and you're just like, wow. And what happens is you're so hungry, and I understand, but you have to be careful because those kind of girls can charm you, and you'll be in a unbelievable world of financial and heartache. Financial heartache and heartache from your chest. You have to be very careful not to date girls that you meet at bars. That is not what they're there for. One note, if you're coming here for a vacation, you've got to go through the dating app situation, unless you've got friends here or some kind of hookup from a buddy. You definitely need to do the dating apps at least 6 to 8 weeks before you come here. So you have time to get to know their personality. Are they right for you? And really, can you trust them? My first time here, I met somebody I did not trust, but she insisted on meeting me. So she drove to my hotel, and I thought we were just going for lunch, and she insisted that we go upstairs, and I was like, okay. So got upstairs, and yeah, you know what happened? I went to the restroom, and I could hear all the doors opening and shutting loud, boom, boom, boom. She's looking for my wallet. So luckily my buddy who I came here with said, make sure you hide your wallet if you ever bring a girl back to your room, which I did. Because I had just got to Vietnam, and they know that that's when you have your most cash. And I had 2,000, I think. It could have been 4,000. I can't really remember, but it was a lot of money. And to them, that can be 4, 5, 6 months of salary. So you have to be very careful who you choose. Now, like I said, I knew I didn't trust her, so I wasn't going to meet her, but she just insisted. So I thought I'll just go have lunch and then call it good. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. But just lunch isn't going to hurt anybody. And I had nothing to do. So there you go. So she acted extremely angry with me after that. And it's kind of incredibly arrogant to be able to act angry. Now, I also met a lot of nice girls when I was on the dating apps. Some I wasn't physically attracted to or just didn't feel chemistry, but I ended up being friends with one of them, and she ended up marrying another American a few years later, and I wasn't able to talk to her after that, but she was very nice and had great English. So let's fast forward just a little bit to now you've got a date set up. What you need to expect is you're going to have to answer a lot of questions. They're usually not too aggressive on the questions. If they are, that's probably not a good sign because it shows they might be angry and untrustful, which can be a real pain for you. But if you can remember that they're going to ask some basic questions like, do you love your mother? Have you been married? Do you have kids? That sort of thing. You also want to make sure that you ask them questions. Don't let them get too comfortable on the first date, second date, third date. Keep them on their toes. You don't want women to feel like they're the ones in control. Vietnamese women, yes, they're very feminine looking and they can be very feminine. But if you let them get strong, they'll take the lead and they'll begin running the show. So you have to make sure that you have strong will and don't bow down to their beauty because that beauty can be intoxicating. Now, usually just getting your heart stomped on once or twice will take care of that being overtly or overly nice feeling. But if you haven't had your heart crushed before, it certainly can be if you let a woman get too strong in the relationship because they won't respect you and they'll just run over you. So you have to make sure that you ask them questions too. So I'm sure a lot of you guys know that. Maybe some of you don't. So nothing wrong with either one of those situations. I've been through the heartache, so it's easier for me. But when I was younger, I was a lot more gullible, had no really clue what I was doing. So luckily I had a good friend that helped me and guided me towards understanding the complexities of the opposite sex. Be a gentleman, which means make sure when you're walking, you walk near the street. Wherever the cars are, you walk closest to the cars or the motorcycles. Pay for the first few dates. Don't let her pay. There's a thing in Vietnamese culture where people argue over who's going to pay. Even she insists on paying. Don't let her pay. If it's like a game, it runs in my family in America, who's going to pay, and you have to argue. It's got to be 5 minutes arguing who's going to pay, and then, somebody ends up paying. But here, the same thing. Don't let them pay for the first or the second date. I'm not the big guy upstairs, and I know that you never know what's going to happen. But I can tell you, odds-wise, as a math person, your odds are going to be very low of having a successful trip if you don't try to meet some Vietnamese girls before you get here. It is completely different than Thailand and the Philippines. I've mentioned that in other videos. It's night and day. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat box and I will reply to them. Help my brothers out here. Okay.